Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Youth Matters. Now today we're discussing are parents responsible for many of our children not succeeding in life? And like we said at the start of the show, we want to hear from you. This is a show all about the youth, for the youth, and we want you to get involved. So far, in the first segment, it seems to have gone towards our parents being, more responsible. This is the kind of argument or the debate that is swaying towards our parents either not doing enough or not being active enough. And, parents watching at home, I want you to get involved. Okay, do you agree? Do you feel it's solely down to you? Are you doing enough? If you are a parent who is doing enough, I want you to call in and tell us what it is that you're doing so we can educate, our global audience. Alhamdulillah, আমরা ফার্স্ট সেগমেন্টে আমরা ডিসকাশন করাত আসলাম আমরা ছাত্রইন আমরা ইয়াং ভাই বোনেন সব সময় লাইফের মাঝে তারা সাকসেসফুল ওই না খেনে ওকে আর আমরা গেছে আসলা ফয়লা সেগমেন্টে তারা কইছইন কত সময় আমরা প্যারেন্টস আইতে ইনাফ খরইন না এর লাগিন ছাত্রইনতে ইয়াং ভাই বোনাইতে তারা লাইফের মাঝে সাকসেসফুল হয় না সো আমরা মা বাপে যে দেখরা আপনারা প্লিজ ফোন ইন করোকা ফোন ইন করিয়া কোকে একটা আপনারা এগ্রি করেননি ডিসএগ্রি করেননি খেনে বিকজ একটু আপনারা শো ওকে so Tanvir, carrying on with the discussion that we had, in terms of, we spoke about parents playing a very big role, in setting that goal, okay? Now, tell me this, if there's a situation where a parent isn't successful themselves or, perceived to be successful, how does that parent then, in your view, do you know any of your friends, any peers whose parents aren't very successful, but they've done quite well, or they haven't done as well as other students who have parents who are supposedly successful in life?
All right, well, sure, yeah, I've known plenty of examples like that. And I guess what it comes down to in that case is essentially the parent who hasn't done so well in life, maybe they haven't got such a prestigious job, then what happens is that they feel, in some cases, they must work doubly hard to try and improve their children's lives so that their children don't take the same route as them, so their children can have a better life than they did. And I think all parents want their children to have a better life than they did themselves. And so what they'll probably end up doing is they'll probably try and inspire their children, try and push their children to study hard, push their children even more than a normal parent would, I guess. And that's just what we expect our parents, I guess.
Now, Masood Bhai, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Now, Masood Bhai, that's quite an interesting conversation because it might be that we have some parents who might not have the best jobs in this country, and it could be that they've come from, say, Bangladesh or any other country, and they might have been very successful there, but obviously they've come here, and and they found it much more difficult to kind of reach those heights. Now, from your experience, how do you feel, those parents who are in that situation? How have you seen them try and interact with their children to try and motivate them?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for inviting me to the show, and I think it's a really important issue that you're trying to address about the youth, the need for our youth to contribute and to be inclusive in the society. In terms of parents, I think if we look at our success in terms of what job we do or how much money we have, or what status we have in society, then we're barking up the wrong tree right from the start. I think where we have to see our success is more in terms of the roles and responsibilities that we have. So parenting is a very powerful, very important, very precious responsibility. And many parents don't realize that. It doesn't matter which country you come from, it doesn't matter what status you have or how much education you have or whatever. What you have to realize is that you, being a parent, are in a very honorable position. You are a leader right from the start.
Sure.
And you have to lead your flock. You have to lead your children towards a path that is successful.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Rafiq Bhai, would you say that, what Masood Bhai is saying about the fact that, we don't have any formal training on how to become a parent? You're a parent yourself. So, and I think it's a really interesting point that Masood Bhai touches upon, that it doesn't matter what background you come from, essentially it comes down to, are you a good parent? And do you know what it entails to be a good parent? So how do you, I guess, we have no manual on how to be a good parent. So people who are watching at home are parents watching at home. How do you become a parent who's much more involved?
I think it's in human nature. Naturally, we look, we observe from people, we learn from our own parents, from our own childhood, and we try and enact the goodness from it and put aside some of the things we may not agree with now that we are adults, etc. And it's a difficult one because we also look at other people.
But what makes it's not fair for me to say what makes a good parent, because there are many qualities. But what makes a parent, conducive, suitable to get the best out of their children? What other qualities have you seen from your years of social work, where you've seen that they've
given your children time, love, yet at the same time disciplining, but it has to be balanced. Where mangalinta coins in my khurba, but shashon khurba. When in terms of, when I say shashon, I don't mean beat them up, but being strict with them in terms of if they've done something that they weren't supposed to do. Okay, you explain to them, you tell them that what they've done was wrong, because not every children understand actually that what they did was wrong. When you explain to them, because you've done this, you're not going to have this, for example, maybe the time on the PlayStation or something, or on the computer, etc.
We have a caller on the line. Can I come back to you?
Yes.
Thank you. That's an interesting point. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister. Thank you for calling. How would you like to contribute to the discussion?
Well, partly I do disagree with what the other student said, and partly I do agree with them. They're right in some ways. I mean, I'm a mum. I've got 3 younger children.
How old are your children,
they're all
sister?
teenagers.
Okay, mashallah.
And one is doing at the moment, he's doing A-level, the oldest one, and the middle one is doing GCSE. And I can understand the reason why I disagree. The reason why I agree is because at the moment, the child that's doing GCSE at the moment, he's going through that phase of not being concentration, not putting enough concentration, and also the pressure group as well, because when they see other children are wearing, as they said, other children are wearing good clothes, expensive clothes, some children find it very difficult when they can't have that sort of thing as well.
So
they lose the education side, and they get into a trendy bit, and so that's where everything comes along.
Sure. What do you
disagree? A lot of pressure in their mind.
What do you disagree specifically with, sister? Because that's
about the parents.
Okay.
I think the parents are doing best what they can, and some children, some parents don't have the finance either to send them into private tuition.
But do you feel, sister? So it's almost, because we have many situations where parents who aren't very affluent,
exactly.
their children do well.
Situation. You've got so many things. If you look into a family, there's a lot of things. From outside, you can't really see anything. But when you get into a family and you know the family, you can see there's a lots of things.
Okay,
So
thank you very much, sister. That's really insightful. Okay, Masuba, if you want to comment on what the sister was saying,
I think I fully agree with the sister. As a parent, she's calling, and I think there are lots of good practices within our community that I see. A lot of parents are doing good work. And in fact, a lot of parents are doing a fantastic job in spite of their difficulties. You know, sometimes you may not have enough money, sometimes you may not have enough space in the house, you may not have all the facilities that, you know, some other communities or other people have. But in spite of that, people are trying their best, they're putting their priorities right in trying to help their children. But ironically, what you find then is that some children, they may not be responsive, they may not be doing their bit, they're not pulling the weight. So the parents are trying their best, but the children are not listening or not doing what they want to do. And then you get the reverse as well, where there are some children who want to do well, but then the parents are nowhere there. And there is something that very quickly I want to say is that it's more important, and the sister mentioned about finance and things, it's more important that you are present with your children rather than the presents that you give.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that. Now, Rafi, you know, a term that we hear often is affluent neglect. Okay, and for our audience watching at home, this is where sometimes our parents, shower our children with gifts and expect them to do well in life. And it's almost like to make up for the lack of time that they give to their children. Now, sometimes, and I think it's a really it's difficult because we're not trying to, this discussion isn't to try and criticize parents. But at the same time, I think it's very difficult sometimes as a parent because, when you review and you reflect, are you actually doing the things that are important to help your child? And you spoke about discipline. So what do you think?
I think what Masood said in terms of being present, I think that's one of the most important thing, because that's the only way you as a parent...
So please break down present, because that's really
Present
important,
meaning-
because parents need to know this.
Shall I say in Bengali?
Yeah, you can say it in Bengali,
Okay,
in
fine. আমার
English.
কতই লোকে প্রেজেন্টার মানে লোকে মা বাবা ফাইন প্যারেন্টসর দেয় কি জানে গরো থাকতা ফুরতাইন তো লোকে সময় খাটাইতা বারা যাইতা take them out to trips, excursions, even if you're going on holiday, if you have the means, you know. But it's not, don't just shower them with computers, phones, expecting your children to be happy, give them clothes, etc. Yes, you might make them happy for the time being, but that child also wants that relationship with mum and dad.
I'll come back to that point. We've got another caller on the line. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I'm calling in because it's the topic that you've currently raised. It's about parents. One of your panel members raised the fact that parents should be involved and it makes a difference. I sincerely believe that because I'm a parent of 5 children, and one of the experiences that I have had is with my children. At one point in time, one of my son, he was quite disengaged, and if I didn't put in effort myself, and that is struggling trying to do a full-time job but raising them as well, I think my son would have gone probably not through further studies and everything. Today what he says to me, this is a child that didn't enjoy studying. The teachers felt it was quite lazy, but what's come about now, he has actually changed his life around, and every day he says to me, Mummy, I'm so glad you forced me, you pushed me, you were there for me, because he's now at King's College trying to get first, and he's trying to get, he's doing a computer science degree, and he said to me, Mum, had you not encouraged me, supported me to try and go through Royal Russell University, I don't see how my future would have been.
So,
now I want to do what I believe, what is going to be successful, and one of the things is not only through my education and everything, but I also want to not do things for in the dunya, but in the akhirah as well.
Mashallah.
So there's been a lot of growth.
So,
But
sister,
he was
tell me
one of my
tell me
children,
this,
I would
mashallah,
say, quite
you know,
disengaged.
Sister, mashallah, he's turned the corner. Now, what is it that you actually did to support your son realize, and you've said teachers said he was lazy. What is it that you did to actually support him become more engaged?
Just like any typical boys, he liked to play PS2, Xbox. I would take that away, put it away and everything. That didn't work, he would go and buy, try and borrow one. So I would take annual leave, I would sit with him physically, and I would physically sit with him, and I will ensure that he did his homework. And when it was exam times, each and every time, not only did I every 2 hours make him a snack, I would physically go through and do work with him in revision. So all my annual leave and all my time when I'm doing, I'm a director at the moment, finance director. I have a very, very, big responsibility, but I wasn't, in that position before. But what I'm trying to say is we as parents, what I decided, it wasn't school's responsibility to ensure my son was going to achieve. It was my responsibility. There was such a thing called self-study, so I would ensure that he was not only studying, I would take away, as one of your panel members say, sometimes you've got to take something away in order for your child to think. So what they say now, and that's Rafiq, what they now say is you give something and yet a reward goes back, and that's the same thing that happened with my son.
Thank you, sister. I think, mashallah, that was a really brilliant call, okay, and you've touched upon reasons as to why your son was able to make the change. Brilliant, mashallah. Thank you for that. Tanvi, tell me this, mobile phones. Everyone seems to have one, okay, even some students in primary school tend to even have them, okay. How big of an impact does that have on a child not succeeding in life?
All right. Well, in this day and age, it's absolutely significant impact, genuinely, and it's beyond correlation now. It's seen as a fact that mobile phones do have a significant impact on children's education, because once you have a phone, you have
negative or positive way.
Well, that depends on the mentality, the personality of the person.
Okay.
So with me, alhamdulillah, my mentality of my phone was positive. I tried to put it away, turn it off when it's time for revision, or if I did use it, I try and use it during revision time for for flashcards or like apps. You can use revision apps.
Mashallah, very responsible, mashallah.
So, yeah, alhamdulillah.
So tell me, at what age did your parents give you a mobile phone? Without
Well,
diverting too much away from the main topic.
Well, the thing is, back when I had a phone in year 7, and that's when I got my phone because that's when we went to go to secondary school, right?
Okay.
And at that time, it was okay. We didn't have that much of a boom in mobile phone applications and whatnot. So my phone was primarily just used for calls and texting
Sure.
my parents. So, but then now recently, there's been a big rise and there's a constant rise in the use of mobile phone applications, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, the like, and. So when I first started my phone, I didn't have these distractions. So, but nowadays you do. You can't get a phone without having Snapchat, without having Twitter.
Sure.
And
So it's very different. So maybe your parents might not have given you a phone if all of the apps and stuff that exist now
perhaps,
do.
yeah.
So that's quite
perhaps.
interesting. Masood Bhai, tell me about, how we spoke about, rewards and presents and, don't give them the presents unless they deserve it. So how important is it that our parents understand the importance of not giving these tools, not giving these gifts to our kids to protect them, to safeguard them?
I think responsible parenting requires that we negotiate, we discuss with our children whatever we're doing so that they understand what we're doing. So what it requires initially is calmness, and then it requires consistency. And more importantly, I think what's required is that you whatever you're doing that with confidence, and you're also doing that in a way that demonstrates your caring. So all of that begins with C's, and I'm doing that deliberately so that people can remember it. So you need calmness, you need caring, you need consistency, and you do all of that with calmness, because the moment you get agitated, that's when you've lost the plot.
Sure.
And children love to see parents, and especially if you have two parents in a family, they'd love to see you contradict each other.
Sure.
So that they can play one against another.
Bounce off each other. Thank you for that. Rabbi, now tell me this. We spoke about in the first segment the distractions. Now, to me, with online play now, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's a game, whether it's a tablet, and every single household seems to have these devices. So are we not then setting our students up, our children up to fail and giving them more challenges than, say, a parent who doesn't? Because I know there are parents out there who actually don't believe in technology. I know, for example, that the Jewish community are very strong about this. There are a lot of Jewish schools out there where they don't believe in technology and their results are very good. So is there something we could learn from that? Are we tripping ourselves up to fall?
I think we are definitely. We can learn a lot. I think there needs to be a balance in terms of allowing children time on the TV, computer, etc. At the end of the day, I think you have to allow children to be children. But does that mean you overfeed them with technology? Why can you not allow your children to go to the park, etc.? Spend that quality time with them, physically good for them, etc. But I think there needs to be that balance and that very strict timetable or routine in place for that to happen. Because a lot of the times the things that we hear is either parents are not around, or if they are around, they still allow children to be on the iPads in the room, etc. They're going online, internet, playing with friends, etc.
But the child will turn around and say, "I'm doing my work."
Yeah, exactly. So,
and a lot of our parents are sometimes.
Do we monitor that? Do we really monitor that as parents, etc.? If so, do we have that full trust, etc.? Again, what I was saying before, sometimes by the time we realize, it's a bit too late, because they've gone into a pattern of behavior that's very difficult to change again. So I think the clever thing to do is to cut it at the root, in terms of, from our parents, from day one, if you say, because from little babies, children are very, very clever. They observe things. Even when they sit on their high chair, etc. You watch your babies, they're looking around, etc. They can see what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. So you need to show that.
Sure.
What's good, what's bad. You need to teach them. You should teach them, yes, fine, half an hour a day or an hour a day, you can do that. Because at the end of the day, are we only talking about the education system?
So discipline is the key here.
Discipline, education, routine, and then we need to also focus about our own identity. Where do we come from in terms of ourselves, from our community as well? We need to also focus on some aspect of other things, that after school classes, etc.
Yeah. Thank you. Brilliant. So what we'll do is, I think we need to carry on with this discussion in the last segment. So, once again, our young brothers and sisters watching this, our youth, okay, do you agree and there's nothing wrong. You know, we want to have a healthy debate. Do you agree with the points that are being made? Okay. Are you a success story where these things didn't affect you? You had everything that you needed and you did exceptionally well. Or are you someone honest enough to say, look, this actually affected me? Having a mobile phone did cause that. My parents giving me everything I wanted ended up resulting in me not doing so well. If that's the case, please phone in, positive or negative, like the calls that we've had. Parents, same thing, okay? We want to hear from you, because we want to educate, you know, the global audience that are watching this. আমরা ভাই বোনেন আপনারা আলহামদুলিল্লাহ হুনছেন কত রিজন আছে আমরা ইয়াং ভাই বোনেন তারা সাকসেসফুল হইন না লাইফও আমরা প্যানেল মেম্বার জানতে কইছেন আখতা মাফে বেশি দিলাইন আখতা কম দেন দিতা পারইন না তারা হিলা তৌফিক নাই সো আপনারা প্লিজ গুরাইয়া শরীক হোক আর আমরা হোকা যেন আমরা দুই বোনাইতে কইছেন কোন রিজনও দায় আমরা ছাত্র হইন আমরা ইয়াং ভাই বোনেন ফেল করইন নাই বালা করইন okay so we'll take a short break but please stay with us and dial that phone. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.